Hi, this video is going to look at S22, which is the ad review process, which is a very important process because it's very important that we're testing ads over time and improving the results that our ads generate. So this process sort of follows two branches depending on how your account is structured. So you can either test ads within an ad group, or as your account gets more granular, you may want to test ads across multiple ad groups at the same time. So what you'll find is you go through and you work on the accounts and you do the keyword review process and you do the quality score process, is that you'll find yourself creating more and more ad groups. So over time what you'll do is you'll take keywords and you'll put them in their own ad group with their own ad. And that means that your account structure over time becomes a lot more granular, which overall is a good thing. But what it means is that each ad group gets less traffic or fewer clicks, basically, which means it can take too long to test ads within the ad group because you don't have enough clicks to work with. So that's a decision that you'll have to make at some point. But well, one thing you can do is you can test ads across multiple ad groups. So I've got a separate video in this guide that talks you through the process for testing ads across multiple ad groups. It is more complicated than this. This video is only going to look at the simpler version, which is testing ads within ad groups, which if you're a beginner is what I suggest you start with. So I'm just going to talk you through this process. Hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory, but I think it's worth watching this through before you have a go. So the first step, as usual, is to take a backup of the account in AdWords Editor and save it somewhere securely. That is quite useful because occasionally what will happen is you'll create a bunch of new ads and maybe the performance just won't be as good. And you'll think, yeah, maybe we should just roll back to how it was. And it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. In which case it's very convenient to have an AdWords Editor backup file that you can just roll your account back to. So do take a backup before you change anything. In my team, we use Teamwork PM to store client-specific notes. So things that we might store in Teamwork PM for this process would be things like the date range we're going to use. So typically, we would use a 30-day date range to review ads. If you do this process and you find you're not getting many results from 30 days, you might want to change the date range to 60 or 90 days. And that really depends on the number of clicks that your account is getting and the number of conversions that you have in your account. This process does rely on you having conversions in your account. It does rely on conversion data. You can't review ads otherwise. Well, you can review ads, but without conversion data, you can only review for click-through rates. So this process is really based around conversions rather than clicks. So so do get conversion tracking set up. There really isn't any excuse not to have conversion tracking set up anymore. So yes, so if you want to set up any specific notes about the date range, then do set that up. Other things you might want to set up, so you'll need to know what the average conversion value is. So what is the typical revenue every time a conversion happens? You'll need to know that. So that could be something else that you might want to store in Teamwork PM if that's what you decide to use. So step 4 is just to adjust the date range and make sure you are looking at the correct date range. If you're not a supervisor, just check which branch of this process you're following. So check whether you're reviewing ads within or across ad groups. So assuming you're setting within ad groups, we're then going to review ad performance by profit per 1,000 impressions. The reason I use profit per 1,000 impressions is to get around an age-old problem. So what will happen typically is that you'll review ads within an ad group. One ad might have a high click-through rate, another ad might have a high conversion rate, so it becomes quite muddy and almost a bit difficult to determine which ad is actually best. So with profit per 1,000 impressions, we're really distilling the results down. So what we're asking in profit per 1,000 impressions is, for every 1,000 times each ad appeared, how much profit did we make from each ad? And that can be negative. Obviously, you can lose money on an ad. It can cost more than it generates in revenue. But this is why you need to know what the average conversion value is if you're a lead generation site, or if you're running a lead generation site. So the first thing you need to do, what I would do is I would have open the Excel file R049, which is the profit per 1,000 impressions calculator, which is going to make things a lot easier for you. And we're basically going to go through and, for the whole account, look for winning and losing ads. So my approach to doing this is to try and simplify things. So what I do, so this is my account, and I've actually changed the data range here to all time, just because I haven't been running many ads recently. So you would have the data range set up here. So normally either 30, 60 or 90 days, depending on how much traffic you're getting. What I would do then is I would come to all online campaigns, come to the ads tab. This is all in the process documentation. And then what you need to do is you need to set up a filter. So I've actually already got this set up. So, but what this is, we're basically looking for ads that have had at least 30 clicks and at least 5 conversions in the date range that we're looking at. Because the reason for that is, if an ad hasn't had 5 conversions, it's difficult to make reliable choices on whether it's a decent ad or not. What you need to do after that is you need to order the remaining ads by ad groups. So there needs to be an arrow, either an upwards or a downwards arrow by the ad group column. And that just groups the remaining ads by ad group. What you can then do then is you're then going to work down this ad group by ad group and compare the ads. So for example, this isn't a very good example, because in this ad group, in this traditional archery ad group, this is actually the same ad. Hence, very similar results. So let's go down and find one from earlier that I thought would be good to compare. Okay, so this looks quite good. So so I've got an ad group to do with cost/voucher AdWords terms, and we've got an ad here. So scared of AdWords costs? Arm yourself with our 3 guides, 6 AdWords mistakes to avoid. And we've got one that says AdWords costs explained, 322-page PDF special report. So this is a classic example of what I've just been talking about. So ad 1 has a higher click-through rate, almost 2%. This is down at 1.14. Ad 2 has a higher conversion rate, 23.5% compared to 16.2%. So which one's better? So the answer basically is to plug these numbers into the profit per 1,000 impressions calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to R049 and we're going to enter the stats for ad 1. So ad 1 had 8942 impressions. 8942. And we spent 112.91. And we had 29 conversions. Ad 2 impressions was 2982. Cost was £22.97. And conversions was 8. You'll also need to just check that your conversion value is correct here. So this should be the average amount of money you make each time a conversion happens. So in this account, actually, it's likely to be closer to 5. So what we can see here is that actually the profit per 1,000 impressions for ad 2 is actually higher than the profit per 1,000 impressions for ad 1. So in this case, what I would be tempted to do is to keep ad 2 as the winning ad here, and probably retire ad 1 based on profit per 1,000 impressions. There is an argument for sort of leaving this to run a bit longer. 8 conversions isn't actually very many conversions. To be sort of statistically sure, you might want to leave this until it has about 29 conversions as well. I think once you get, statistically, once you get over about 27 conversions, then you can be reasonably confident that the numbers are going to be fairly stable. Sometimes, you know, we're also in a rush, so it depends on how quickly you need to improve things. So what I'm trying to say is there is a bit of judgment required here. Unfortunately, what I can't tell you is I can't say that, you know, if profit per 1,000 impressions is £2 or $3 higher in one ad, then pause it, because it depends a little bit on the conversion numbers and the conversion values. But what this allows you to do, this is a comparative number. So what we're doing is we're comparing the ads. So in this case, I would probably keep ad 2 as my control ad. If you find that the profit per 1,000 impressions is very similar, so let's say, for example, that we've had 35 conversions. Oops, 33 conversions. So let's say you had a result like this, where the profit per 1,000 impressions is very similar. In that case, you don't really have a conclusive result. In that case, what I would probably do is I would probably go with the ad that has the higher click-through rate, because obviously there is a benefit of having a higher click-through rate in terms of quality score and Google love and that sort of thing. If the ads have similar click-through rates, you might want to consider running the ad test for another month. You might want to consider setting up a different ad even. So what you're going to need to do is go through that process and work down ad group by ad group and compare the ads by profit per 1,000 impressions. The next thing that we're going to do, so that filter only looked at ads that have had at least 5 conversions. What we also need to do is we also need to check for ads that have had fewer than 5 conversions but have also cost us a significant amount of money. So you need to so what I've put in the process is to create a filter to highlight ads that have cost at least 5 times the average conversion value with 4 or less conversions. So in this case, for example, what we would do is we'd clear that filter and we'd create a new filter where the costs, performance cost, where the cost is greater than whatever 5 times the conversion value is. So we said it was £5 in this campaign, and where conversions is less than or equals to 4. If you have an e-commerce campaign as well, then you might want to limit the ad type again to just matching text and image ads. Otherwise you'll find product listing ads show up and they can sort of get in the way a bit. If this is the first time you've done this, I would save the filter for future reuse and just save it as something like high costs for 4 or fewer conversions. So that's going to show us ads that really aren't working very well. So you're going to want to go down this list and consider pausing all of these ads. Obviously, as you go through this, you need to be making notes of the changes that you make in the ad testing log. So something that we do is we maintain an ad testing log of all the results that we find, because otherwise what happens is you forget what you've done in the past and what you've found. So yes, so step 7 in the process is the other branch basically of this process, which we'll cover in another video. But what you need to do at the end is to record any conclusive results in the ad testing log. So we keep this in Google Drive so everyone can access it. And basically all we do is we insert screenshots of losing ads, winning ads, as you've paused, and just maybe make a brief note of their performance. So yeah, and then make that available to everyone who works on the accounts. There's an additional step if you're running site links. I'm not going to go through this in this video, but site link performance, you might want to do this every 3 months or so. So site links are the additional links that can appear with your ads. They're a type of ad extension, and it is actually possible to test different site links now. So that's what step 9 covers.